Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in. Good afternoon. This is Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, as we continue through the week and just getting jump-started, sitting alongside Mike D'Ambrosio. We always try to anyway, every Tuesday.
Yeah, that's right. Hello.
Hello. We're here back with you, and happy we've got a great topic for you today. If you listened to the show last week, hopefully you are a dedicated listener. Then you'll know kind of we're going to tag on and piggyback to what we were talking about last week. Before we do that, just as a reminder, if you need any help on buying a home, selling a home, maybe you need some advice, I'll tell you it's a crazy market. I'm not sure it's going to get much better either. The inventory's low. Mike will give us a little update on the market. But in general, make sure you're working with the right team of people when you're buying, selling, financing. These are big decisions, and in a market like this, you really need to have someone that's on top of their game. Contact Mike. You can do that a couple different ways. Area code 408-630-0101, either a text or phone call, or you could always email Mike at reradiolive.com, and the website, MikeDsells.com. All right, and if you need some financing, I could help you with that. Maybe a purchase, refinance. I'm a big fan right now. Consolidate those firsts and seconds. Looks like they'll be continuing to raise the prime at least once or twice this year, maybe, it looks like. And you don't want to be stuck with a adjustable loan on that second. It'll continue to rise. More information, contact me, 408-838-9060, or you could always email Joe at reradiolive.com. Last week, Mike and I were talking a little bit about the Silicon Valley, the challenges of financing and purchasing when it's just, in some cases, kind of getting out of control, right? I mean, it's let's face it, it's good for you and I if we're in our business. We've been settled for a while, and we're doing larger loans, and you're selling more expensive homes. Let's face it. I mean, that's a good thing to help clients, and it's really getting to a point, too, where you get concerned about the service industry, the first-time home buyer, the person that's got 5% just trying to get their home for the first time. It is concerning.
Absolutely. It's, I don't know if there's another word other than that. You know? I mean, what else can you say? It's tough.
It is. And as Mike and I, as for people that live in the community, grow up, our families, the other piece of it, too, let's face it, I mean, it is nice to be able to try to focus on a community and the needs of a community. And my point is there are other people in different industries that like to live here, that have family here, that have children here, that we want to try to get them to get into a house as well.
Yeah.
So with that, Mike and I are going to kind of discuss the topic today as alternatives to, purchasing. What other things can you do in the Bay Area? Maybe some creative ways to look at purchasing, someone you may or may not have thought before. And maybe to just kind of jog your thoughts, maybe get the train of thought thinking a little differently. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Before we do that, market still pretty much the same story, low inventory, craziness.
I mean, 896 single-family homes in the county right now, and including condos, townhouses. We're looking at a little over 1,100. So really,
same stuff, huh?
Peanuts,
Yeah.
We have, sitting in this city we're sitting in right now, Los Gatos, we have over 1,000 real estate agents alone. So that's just one city in the 15 cities of the county, one of the smallest cities too. So there's what I'm saying. The reason I'm saying that, and that people that listen to the podcast regularly have heard me say this before, is okay, you have 1,000 realtors in one city in the county alone when there's less than 1,000 homes for sale.
That is interesting.
You have those realtors working with buyers, multiple buyers. So just think about how many people are after the same deals.
The same deal, huh?
So it's
Well, I would say, though, on that side, and to your benefit and to your credit, too, Mike, and I've said this before, and it's the same in my industry, by the way, you may have 1,000 real estate agents in the Los Gatos area, but you have maybe about 80 to 100 that really work it.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
and I
that's
don't mean
true.
that to be derogatory,
no,
but
that's
true.
Yeah, I mean,
like
you
yourself,
have part-time
every day,
people,
right?
you have, stay-at-home moms or dads doing it like on the side. So yeah, it's absolutely true. I mean, 80 to 90% of the deals is done by 10 to 20% of the realtors. So, but again, 896 homes.
That's crazy.
In the entire county that are actively for sale. And I mean, I remember having Larry Stone on the show before, the tax assessor. You've had him on multiple times. I think there's something like 125,000 taxable single-family homes in the county. So we only have less than 1,000 for sale.
That's amazing.
So,
knowing that, all that stuff, don't get too depressed too quickly, because Mike and I are going to talk about some alternatives to maybe some things you didn't think about when you're trying to purchase, because it could be frustrating out there. So let's dive in and talk about one of the ones that I think people are probably most familiar with is gift, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about either gift equity or maybe gift funds, like parents, grandparents, kind of the traditional thing. Hey, listen, I'm trying to help my children or grandchildren buy a house. Joe or Mike, they can't really afford a down payment, so we're going to gift them $200,000. I mean, that's kind of the general basic stuff that takes place. And they're more and more, by the way, it probably is going to be taking place, because there is a huge wealth transfer of wealth, I think, in the next several decades going to take place with parents and grandparents. So that's the one. We see that, I guess, probably more typical than some of the other ones we're going to talk about.
I mean, but you can get a gift from not just the parents. You can get a gift from other family members. So
absolutely.
If you got a rich uncle out there or something like that, you might want to go knocking on his door, or her door.
The other one, which is a little bit different but still helps, let's say you have a parent or grandparent that owns a home or has a home, and they decide that they're going to literally give them gift equity to buy that home, right? So that happens. We get that from time to time too. The house is worth $1 million. We're going to have that equity. We're going to give them $200,000 or $100,000. They're going to come up with $100,000 of their own, whatever it may be. So there's that option. The reason we're going to bring these up today is to get you thinking, maybe to, approach family members, approach uncles, grandparents, maybe relatives, to find out if there's other things you could do. What would be some of the other things we talked about, Mike, is kind of something out of the box that someone might not think about?
I wanted to talk about granny units, but I was just thinking as we were going on with the show, I mean, one of the easiest ways to buy something around here is if you drive a little bit.
Yeah,
and what I mean by that is there's the whole saying, drive a little, save a lot. And so, so for people that work in Silicon Valley, those areas are Gilroy, what we call South County, so Gilroy, Hollister, or you go to the Central Valley. You know, I mean, that's even further of a drive now. So, I mean, it's a quality of life conversation too, because it depends on how much time you want to be spending in the car. I mean, there's some people that commute from Tracy to San Jose, and they spend 4 hours a day in the car.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, though. It is an alternative.
It is an alternative. So I think the drive a little, save a lot. You can get the same size or bigger house that's newer in Hollister for half the price. So I think that's definitely something to think about. If you are trying to get in the market, maybe you have to suffer through a few years of driving, or maybe you can work out a deal with your employer to work remote a couple days a week, something like that. I think it's definitely part of the conversation you need to have when deciding if you're going to buy around here or not.
What would you say about Morgan Hill? I mean, is that getting to where it's still not as reach out of Silicon Valley, the basic here, but that's also, I guess, the prices, the low inventory and the prices are kind of
have gone up. But it's a great town. It's more affordable than San Jose, but it's definitely they're going up, So I think really you're going to get your bargain deals.
Gilroy,
Hollister, Watsonville. I mean, even not that far. So,
Okay. So that's definitely another way. And then Mike mentioned the Central Valley. It's true. I'm working with a client right now that's buying, I can't think of the city, but it's near kind of not quite Stockton, but not quite Tracy over there. But, brand new, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, really nice little community. and I think it's 540,000 or something.
Yeah, they're building like gangbusters out
there.
Yeah,
they have
the land. They have the land. I mean, out in Manteca, of all places.
Yeah, right. There's another location. Yeah,
we have. I've been doing a lot of research out there, and there's a lot of big developments going on.
Is there?
Builders developing gorgeous homes for $400,000. So, it's something to think about, especially if you can telecommute or you can work from home.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's definitely, you should think about that.
Well, that's a good point. The other thing about the Central Valley and some of these areas specifically now, I don't know the details, but I know the light rail, right?
Uh-huh.
They beefed that up. I think the light rail is, for instance, I believe you could take the light rail all the way out to, they just extended it somewhere, and I should know that, but they're continuing to expand on that is my point.
Yeah.
And I know they're bringing BART into certain areas, too, in the next several years.
Yeah.
So I know that
public transportation.
Yeah, the public transportation, as we talk about this, it does help.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does help for sure.
So
the other one that, again, a little bit creative on the creative side before we take a quick break, but is, let's say you want to buy a home, maybe you're a little short on funds, or maybe you could be a little more aggressive, but you don't have the down payment or whatever. Or you have a family member that's willing to go on, as that's called, Mike, non-occupant co-borrower, right?
Right.
We deal with that from time to time.
Absolutely.
So go to an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, sibling, and say, hey, listen, I got a proposition for you. We want to buy a home, and this is what we have. Sit down and talk to your relatives about it, and maybe there's something you could strike. Maybe you could strike a deal where they help you either qualify and go on as a non-occupant co-borrower, or they do better. Maybe they loan you some money and say, hey, listen, I'll loan you $100,000. Now, this is on the side, of course. I'll loan you $100,000, and maybe they go on title, or you guys have a side agreement that says that you get some equity at one point, right?
Share. Yeah, why not? Maybe explain what a non-occupying co-borrower.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of self-explanatory from the name, but maybe
but it is a little
about
confusing.
Yeah,
good point.
Bit. I know we just got a couple seconds, but
yeah, real quick before we take our first break. So a non-occupant co-borrower, this would be someone that is not occupying the property, but they're helping you qualify or give you money. In this case, help you qualify. So let's say, for instance, Mike, someone's out looking to buy a house, they can't quite afford it, so they go to their parent and they say, hey, listen, mom and dad is going to come on and they're going to help me qualify. With mom and dad's income, we could afford more home. Yeah. Now, so mom and dad would be considered a non-occupant co-borrower. What that means is they're not occupying the property with the buyers, so that's real clear because that's their primary residence. But mom and dad are willing to help out. So what that means is mom and dad are going to go on the hook. They're on the hook for the financing.
That's really what it is.
Yeah. But they don't live in the property, and that's why it's referred to as a non-occupant. You're not living in the property of record, but you're helping the people qualify.
There you go.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about alternatives to buying, staying, purchasing here in the Bay Area. It's a crazy time. We'll be back with you in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com.
Hi, this is Joe Kuchera, host of Real Estate Radio Live and Bay Area Mortgage Planner. In addition to being your home financing expert, please remember you could always contact me for other trusted advisors such as realtors, financial planners, and CPAs. Please feel free to contact me at 408-838-9060. That's 408-838-9060, or email joe at reradiolive.com, or visit my website at reradiolive.com for more details.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, sitting alongside Mike D'Ambrosio. Our topic today is alternatives to hopefully staying, buying, purchasing in the Bay Area. It's a really tough time right now for first-time home buyers, for someone that's struggling to actually even move up potentially, or maybe you're growing the family and you need a little more space, and even you're looking at the numbers. You've been in your house for a while and you're thinking, can I do this? So we talk a lot about real estate, but it's really important that we don't forget about, the people that are less fortunate, the people that are just scraping to get into the home for the first time. You could listen to thousands of stories. I have it. Mike has it. You get into your home for the first time, and it's obviously not going to be typically your dream home, but you know how important it is to get in, get home ownership, start saving, start building equity, have a sense of ownership, and, of course, tax benefits.
Absolutely. I think, usually on average, and maybe it's longer in the Bay Area, but on average, people stay in a home 5 to 7 years on average. Now, I think that time frame has extended a lot in the Bay Area, just because the stakes are so much bigger here, because you got bigger taxes to pay. Where are they going to go, et cetera? There's all sorts of reasons why people aren't selling as much as they used to in the past. But so getting into that first property for your average 5 to 7 years, to use that to leverage into something else is probably what you should be thinking about. Yeah.
So alternatives, we talked about a bunch of different ones, or just a handful of other ones. Just as we were making our way through the first segment, we talking about non-occupant co-borrowers. So that would be getting maybe a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, sibling maybe to help you qualify. That's another way to leverage maybe and buy a little bit more home. And strike it, obviously some people are willing to just flat out help family members. That's great. Some people might say, here's $200,000, here's $100,000, or I'll go on. But I would suggest, Mike, if some people are also business minded. So if you come to them, even if it's a family member, and they say, hey, can you give us an extra $100,000? It means we could buy the house we really want. And maybe you strike a partnership with one of your relatives and they get some equity ownership.
I mean, why not? I think let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So let's say you're buying $1 million home, but you need an extra $100K. I mean, that's
10%.
10%. Maybe you give them a 10% equity share in the future. I don't know. Why not?
I think it's a great idea. We talked about there's city seconds. There's a lot of assistant programs out there that will do these. And I think the easy math, Mike just said it. Maybe you strike up a deal and you say, listen, you're giving me 10%. The house is worth $1 million today. Over the next 5 to 10 years, when it becomes, if it's worth more, or at the time maybe they refinance, cash out, pay them off.
Yeah.
And if the house is worth $1.3 million when they go to do it, then they got their equity, right? The percentage difference, or they stick with it.
Yeah, or they pay them like a per year.
Yeah, that too, right.
Percentage.
Right, good point.
Or like almost like a carryback, seller carryback, like an interest only lump sum or something like that. So I mean, there's different ways you could swing it. Yeah. I'm sure you could look it up online, or if you want to talk to us about it, we're happy to strategize with you about that. But the other way I was thinking that, another alternative is a granny unit. And we've talked about granny units multiple times on this, especially this year on the show, because of all the new laws that came into place this year. Definitely, especially if maybe you don't have a big family, granny unit's a viable solution. It's not going to be your biggest home ever, but that's what it's there. Right. That's what it is. And so maybe you maybe you have an in-law or your family members that live on a large property, or a lot that would qualify for a granny unit or a sizable granny unit. Maybe you convince them to let you build a granny unit there. You either pay for it, which is only gonna cost you. I say only, but it's gonna cost you, I don't know, on average $100,000 or something like that.
That's not a bad idea, though. I'm really glad you brought that up, because I never thought about the typical granny unit. Yep, someone says, hey, build it, I'll rent it, or it's great for maybe older parents or aging parents or something. But that's a great idea. I mean, you sit down with maybe your children or someone maybe it's a 3 or 4 year plan or 2 year plan, and they actually help finance it.
Yeah.
Right. If it costs $150 or $200,000 to build it, maybe they put some money into it. Maybe they agree, if they get the money or use the money or put it on an equity line, maybe they agree to make those payments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can make the payment. Yeah,
and the homeowners, it's positive, right? Because they're gaining more equity.
Exactly.
Because I'm guessing, we talked about this before, but let's say you build a 500 square foot granny unit. I know, I'm not sure we've talked about this before. I'm not sure it's dollar for dollar square foot, the same value as your prime or your main structure. How does that work typically? If you have, again, in Willow Glen, if you have a $750 a square foot, and now that's 500, square feet of permitted.
Yeah.
It's probably just depends on the market and value and all that stuff.
It depends on the market and the comparables, but I don't know. Call it maybe it's worth 2/3 of what the main house is.
Right.
It's still going to add a really good value to it. But, if you're building 500 square feet, let's say, 500 square feet at $200 construction cost a square foot, that's $1 million. $100,000. That's $100,000, right? So it's I think it's a viable solution, especially if the property qualifies for it, because you got to look up all that stuff with the city website, and two, if you're the practical thing is if you want to live on that property with whoever's living there as well, and they want you to be living on the property, that's got to be decided on. And three, what's going to be the financial deal that you work out for that.
Right.
So, you got to really consider those options. The other thing that I just started learning more about is the whole modular granny units, which are coming into play, and they want to be around here. So that's something to think about. Can cut costs.
Is that when they basically just you build one prefab, pre-made, and they bring a crane in and drop that baby right down on?
Pretty much.
You
pour the pad, you get the electrical and plumbing out there, and then you drop it in. That's basically it.
So the idea, almost like a manufactured home versus a custom built home. Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing, I don't know what the costs are. The costs are probably better, more affordable to do the pre-manufactured.
So. Yeah. I think it's going to be definitely more affordable. So that's another idea. On that note, another alternative could be like a tiny home. And so let's say, and you could buy a piece of land cheap up in, maybe this is more for the granola listener out there. But you could buy a home up in the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Granola.
Up in the Santa Cruz Mountains that takes you 45 minutes to get into town, but you can buy a small lot up there for $50,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then roll in a tiny home. Why not?
No, that's actually a really good point too. There's places still, if you don't mind driving a little bit, even in the Los Gatos Mountains or Santa Cruz Mountains Mike talked about, you could buy, and I don't know what lots go for land, but if you're in maybe what could be an undesirable area for most people, let's say you're in the woods in Felton or something where not a lot of people want to be, but what you're saying is pick up a cheap or a piece of land and then maybe get a manufactured home or drop one of these tiny homes on there.
Yeah, exactly.
You have the exclusive, if you're a person doesn't mind that, and you don't mind commuting.
Yeah, if you don't mind commuting, maybe you're into extracurricular, activities and stuff like that, then why not?
They just ran out of marijuana in Nevada. Did you hear about that?
No, did they?
Yeah.
Wow, they're probably going to all come over to California then. We got plenty of it here.
Supply and demand, just like we have a shortage on houses.
That's right, exactly. Maybe we'll trade some houses for some pot or something like that. The other thing we didn't even talk about was on manufactured homes, I just was thinking about this too. Another alternative would be mobile home, like a mobile home park. Mm-hmm. Now, I know when people think of mobile home parks, they think of grandma's old house or something like that. But if you drive through one now, it's pretty amazing. There's almost like little mini mobile mansions that are going.
I'll tell you one again. I'm sure there's more, but every once in a while, I walk that Los Gatos Trail I catch in Campbell. And you know that stretch better than me probably. You know which one I'm talking about? Yeah. You actually walk by there and you look into that mobile home park mobile home park, and there's like 2-story. Yeah. There's homes that you can tell they're like customized, and there you have a pool area and a lawn area and just a really nice facility. Yeah,
it's very nice, and so that's something. Now the drawback with mobile home parks is the space.
Yeah, right.
And people always complain. The hard part about buying in an HOA is the HOA payments. Right. Well, space rent in mobile home parks is like twice as it's twice as bad usually. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
But the cost of them is going to be much more affordable. Yeah. You're talking $250 for a nice mobile home. So it just depends on what you're looking for.
Now the other thing I was thinking about right before we have to cut out here, Mike. We don't see it a lot here. You see it a lot, and I'll tell you see it a lot in different cultures. You see it a lot in Salinas, maybe in some other places around here. And what I'm referring to is a lot of people will get the entire family together, and they'll come in with 3 or 4 people, maybe buy a little bigger home.
Yep.
I've seen it before with some different cultures. They say, hey, the 2 families are coming in on this.
Yeah,
And you have, in some cases, you're taking 5 or 6 applications.
So is there a limit on applications you can take on one loan? Like
Not really.
For many people, or no?
I mean, I've done as many as 5. If you're not married, obviously you got to do an application for every single person. But it's not, it's rare. But again, if we're talking about alternatives and you're having a hard time affording this, maybe you go, and I see it in different cultures again, to them it's like a natural. They do that a lot.
Right.
They go in with another family.
Right.
And they just say, we're going to do this together. So these really, before we sign off today, these are alternatives. These are things that Mike and I want to get your thinking jogged a little bit and understand that, it's frustrating. There's some challenging times, but if there's a will, there a way. There's that old saying, but be open-minded to the possibilities, right?
Absolutely.
Be open-minded to the possibilities. All right. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to have to duck out. For more information, you could always go to RE Radio Live. And do us a favor when you get a chance. Give us a review. Tell us what you think. We'd love to hear what everybody thinks. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.